the letter that was sent out, and there were a couple of parts that really gave me pause. I mean, the whole thing did, honestly. They're very vague on threats. What threats particularly? I haven't seen any threats. And if there had been threats, they would have been written about. They would have made the nightly news. They would have been all over social media. The president of the United States would have spoken about them. You would have heard nothing but about these threats. You would have heard nothing but that. And you know it. And they know it. And so the memorandum that they sent out, and this is just so bizarre. And they're looking at, there's a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against, where? Name them. Name it. Because this is the state that is abusing its power to crush dissent. This is one of the most anti-constitutional things I've ever seen in my life. I imagine, the emoji, the red alarm emoji, the siren. I'm going to tell you something. I do not engage in hyperbole. In fact, I loathe it. You guys know how I feel about conspiracy theories. You guys know I hate speculation. I mean, Diogenes would be pleased of my cynicism. This is, I always look for the rational and the logical. But I'm telling you, this is a red siren moment. I really am. I think I've said that one other time in my over 10 years on radio. In politics. But this goes further than anything I think I've ever seen. Because they're trying to scare anyone that considers protesting against wokery and critical race theory. And they're citing vague threats what threats? I've never seen any threats materialize. I've never seen any threats. The only threats that I have ever seen have been against parents. The only threats that I've ever seen, for instance, have been in my town, where school board toadies put parents' names on an out-of-state funded mailer and sent it around to everybody. They sent one to every single person in our town through the mail, smearing these parents for daring to speak out. The NBC guy tried to come at me, and I was like, dude, I will take you all day long. They ran this big story on our school board last summer, but there were so many parents that were appalled over for instance, you want to know some of the stuff they were talking about doing? Just let me give you an example. They were going to create a mysterious board of who knows who, bureaucrats, that were going to monitor your students' behavior day in and day out, even on private time. Anything that's considered a microaggression, and they wrote in their actual documentation explaining their policies, whether, quote, whether consciously or subconsciously done. Anything that they could define as a quote-unquote microaggression, if you did not use the correct pronoun, for instance, that would go on your student's permanent record. They wanted to ruin these children's lives before these children even got out of school. They wanted to defund our school resource officer program. And here's something else to consider. We voted on that as taxpayers. We voted on that for our tax dollars. And these Marxists demanded that they get all of the money so they could go and hire diversity officers and pay people to come and monitor the CRT stuff in our school district. I am not even remotely exaggerating. I have screenshots of everything. I have every single thing that they've ever written about it. I've written about it. I've sent it to people who've written about it. Every single thing. This is what they wanted to do. And then when parents did not want to part with their taxpayer dollars that they thought they had voted on to go towards school resource officer programs, then they were called racists. One of the loudest people to speak out in our town was a Cuban father who's a veteran. Immigrated here to the United States. And he was called a racist by white women and men who are Marxists. One of the other fathers that spoke out He's from Vietnam. He served in the military and became a citizen and opened up businesses here. But because he spoke out, he was called a white supremacist. One of the other families here, and this is what gets me, because they always say, because these people here and like the white Marxists, they were trying to use as their spokesperson a woman who doesn't even live in our town and hasn't for years. I think when I moved here in 2013, I don't think this woman lived here even. Doesn't even live in the town. And they railed against the school district, but apparently it wasn't bad enough. The older daughter of the woman wanted a job at that school district, so it must not have been that bad. But a lot of the white parents, like there was a lot of the families here that have spoken out have been incredibly diverse. In fact, the people who are leading the whole group, there's a white family, a Cuban family, and a Vietnamese family. And that's just how it happened. It wasn't, no one went out and auditioned spokespeople like the critical race theorists, the institutionalized Marxist racists out there. But they were like attacking, like this Cuban father telling him he doesn't know what Marxism is. Oh my gosh.